Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
No offense, Danny. I'm usually sleeping at this time on a Friday. It's my first time hearing the Danny Unleashed Open, and I think it's great. I think it's better than my Open, and my Open's great. So, was that you making those?
It was
noises?
me doing all that. Yeah, you know all the. There's so much sound from me from the listener lose files and everything else.
Oh my
in there
gosh!
That I think I actually recorded the howl.
The howl.
By suggestion. That
okay, that was scripted, right?
Yeah, they said, "Why don't you?" Ben said, "Why don't you howl like a dog?"
I do want to know the circumstances around the cat's meow, though. That intrigued me a little bit.
I think I might have done that one too. I'm not sure.
You had no idea what
the,
you're getting
The other
yourself into.
goofy sounds were all organic.
Oh, there we go.
I guess you would say.
There we go.
By the way, we were exchanging texts in preparation for this fine segment, and you said, "I always enjoy working with you." I don't think we've ever broadcast together.
Yeah, we have. Remember we did high school games.
Okay.
Remember that on TV? We did well, you don't apparently, but yes, we did pregame high school on Friday nights out at high school games for TV. This was on the TV side.
No, I didn't do TV for high school.
You did for Metro Sports. We did pregame.
No.
I will find the tapes. I promise you, Danny.
Boy, maybe I just blocked it out of my
It was
mind.
for one season. It was for a season. Yes, and then I used to host the.
Are you sure I wasn't just doing the game, and then maybe you did pregame and?
No, we were both. We both did pregame. Maybe we were doing the games, but we did like a half hour, an hour long, I think, pregame show. We were out at like CBAC and ODAC, and papers were we had a desk, and papers were flying all over the place, and we were never sure we were actually on television. Yeah,
I think you're hallucinating.
I'm going to find it, and
if you find it, you send it to me. But
then
anyway.
also I did Royals pre and post game shows, pregame shows. You've been the guy come in before, so yeah.
Okay, all righty, that I'll buy.
Okay,
but the high school. I would remember that.
I'm going to send out.
I have a pretty
text.
Darn good memory, and it's a blessing and a curse.
Maybe this is something you wanted to block out. I'm not saying it was good television. I'm saying the exact opposite, actually, Danny. But regardless, good to see you.
Good to be seen and heard.
Do you have a new mascot or name for the Tampa Bay Montreal Rays? Because you can't keep the Rays. The Montreal fans are going to be ticked off. You've got to come up with something. I mean,
something that works for both
Frenchie and South Floridian.
We knocked that around yesterday, and we came up with either it can't be the Rakespos, can't be the can't be the
X-rays.
X-rays. Oh, the X-rays.
We thought the X-rays.
X-rays.
Yes.
The Tampa Bay Montreal X-rays.
That was
I
easy.
like that one.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do that.
No.
But
they shouldn't.
we said. I heard you guys discussing this. To me, the way it was discussed was that you'd play in Tampa for the first part of the season, and then you'd play in Montreal for the second part of the season. But that doesn't really make much sense if they're a good team. So Montreal's going to get all the important games.
Like, well, how do you feel if you're St. Pete and you're there? You're like, oh, cool, this team. Because like right now, they're 12 or 13 games over 500. They're in position to be the top wildcard team. And at the end of June, see you, boys.
Bye. We're going to another
I don't think
country.
they're going to do it that way.
No.
1,448 miles between those two cities, by the way. Kansas City is closer to Tampa than Montreal is.
Wow.
1,500 miles apart. I mean, just like I like bold ideas, and I'm like searching through this one to find like a hook. I'm like, okay, this makes. I haven't found that hook. Have you guys? Have you found? any way? I mean,
the
just
only
logistics
thing
of it
would
all.
be is if it's just purely an entree to play all the time in Montreal.
Right. That was my next question. I mean,
Or
does
to
baseball
just-
need to go back to Montreal?
Or to just coerce. I don't think Tampa's done anything to deserve keeping the team.
Well,
I mean, they've been a good team for a long time.
Yeah.
And the only time they draw any crowds is when the opponent creates interest.
Supposedly, LSU baseball is outdrawing Tampa. LSU.
Well, there's thought that there was some thought initially that it was a bargaining chip to get a new stadium, but what I read after that was that, according to the agreement, if it comes to fruition, both would be there'd be new stadiums. It would exist with a new stadium in Tampa and a new stadium in Montreal. I'm like, well, that's kind of sends. It's not much of a bargaining chip if the stadium's part of it. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. The Rays are
I
nice
just think
team.
I
Am
just
I
think they
missing
should
that?
move.
I would agree.
I mean, how long? And it's not like they haven't been given every chance to support
Yes.
the ball club.
Yes.
Now, people would say, "Oh, the stadium stinks." You know what? I've been there. It may not be a great baseball field, but as far as a place to go, it's fine.
Agreed. And when your team is good, in the toughest division in baseball, above 500, challenging, contending, all that stuff,
Since
it doesn't matter. I mean, it shouldn't matter that the building, and I've been there too, is subpar. And
Right, it's
catwalks.
subpar, but I mean, it's for baseball. But for being a fan,
Yeah.
it's fine. You're inside. It's not hot. It's not cold. It's not, I mean,
Right.
sight lines are fine.
Yeah,
Okay, it's an oddity for baseball, but
I don't think
going
it
back
works down
to
there.
2008, if they continue this trek they're on this year, that's 12 seasons. It will be the 8th time in those 12 seasons they've been over 500. And the other years, their winning percentage has been 475, 494, 420, and 494. So they've been within 2 games of 500 2 other times, and we're within shouting distance of it a third time.
and also they're a spunky, good story. They're fighting against the best division in baseball. You've got great attractions coming in to play your team.
Yep.
They're an innovative team that tries different things.
That's it. We talked about that on Tuesday. They're the pioneers of this opener thing. They could be, the first to do this, and they've, like Soren said, they've figured out pitching. They know what they're doing with
Right.
pitching
Other guys
stuff.
come there and pitch better. They turn people's careers around.
They have the best ERA in baseball in the while in the American
American League.
and it's
East.
by 0.2 of a run. They have the best record ERA in baseball.
Right, and they have to pitch in Yankee Stadium, Fenway
Yeah.
Park,
Yeah.
20 times a year.
And the Dodgers are in a
And Baltimore. Sorry, forgot
Yeah,
about Baltimore.
right.
Now Baltimore stinks, but it's a bad place to pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then is Montreal, if they do move, is that the thing? It seemed like once everybody moved, or once the Expos moved to D.C., became the Nationals, immediately everybody's like, oh, Montreal. It became nostalgic. Everybody started wearing the Montreal Expos hats, and it was like old school. Is there a burning desire to get back to Montreal? Is that number one on MLB's list to have another
Well,
team
when they
in?
were good, they drew. I would say that they at least earned the right. It's a huge city.
and that was no less of a dog-looking stadium
Oh.
than Tampa Bay.
Olympic?
Awful.
Yeah, they're gonna.
Awful
They would need
place
to do.
play.
Yeah,
Yeah, and bad sight lines there too. You're far from
and
the field.
cold half the year.
Right. Would
A third of the year.
Would you guys be up for the Royals sharing not half their season, but some of their games? They had one this year with Omaha.
I only think that it's a good idea when you're bad. Okay, if you're good, now one might make an argument that the Royals are likely to be not so great a goodly part of the time, just by circumstance. I wouldn't have any problem, for, like I said, a one-off game or two in Wichita or Omaha, but I don't think playing, say, 12 games in Omaha and 12 games in Wichita floats my boat.
Yeah, it seems excessive. 12 seems excessive. I mean, it's a series here or there. I don't think that does a whole lot of harm. Make it more of a regional team. I don't know. But
I'm gonna look this up. How many games did, on average, of the 41 home games did the Kings play in Omaha? Do you remember, Danny?
I think they
offhand?
eventually split.
Was a split? I know there were 3 years they shared the name, but I didn't know how many. If it was like the Packers played for years up until '94.
I wasn't
two
here
of their
then. I don't know
home games.
what
in
years.
Milwaukee.
What years were those?
73.
I wasn't alive
2,
then.
3,
I
and
guess.
4, 3, 4, and
How
5,
did that
something
work?
like
Was that a failed experiment? Because it didn't last that long.
See, they were the KC Omaha Kings, 73-4-5.
Yeah. I don't know.
Watching games on TV up there, but my first, when I first came to the Midwest.
To me, the distance is one thing. I think it's absurd and ridiculous. But I would say, the logistics and just the oddity and the weirdness would exist with towns that are just a couple hours apart, like Omaha and Kansas City. I just don't know how that would work, splitting games that way.
Well, the NBA was really in the doldrums at that point in time, so trying different things was a decent idea. That was the period of time, or just before it, when the finals were on tape delay.
Were they really?
Yes. The Sixers and the Lakers played for the NBA title, and they'd show the games.
This is Magic
after the Tonight Show.
Yeah, this is Magic
or
versus
after a Letterman or whatever.
What's wrong with people in the 60s and 70s? Why don't they like sports more? My goodness.
Looks like 15 of their 41 home games were in Omaha.
Oh, 15. Okay, so it wasn't a dead split.
So 15 of the 41. Okay.
Boy, that almost doesn't earn you the title. Having the title in your team.
You're definitely going to go second, Omaha. It's not going to be Omaha, Kansas City Kings. It's going to be Kansas City, Omaha.
Well, here's
76, they still played 4 games there, but they had lost the dual name by then.
Here's something that I bet very few people in the audience know. As a youth, I attended NBA doubleheaders.
Really?
Yes.
The same 2 teams?
No.
Okay.
Like the Celtics and the Pistons were going to play at 8 o'clock, and at 5:30, the Knicks and the Bulls would play.
And where was this at? In Boston?
Garden.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a thing, huh?
Yeah.
Or was a thing.
It was pretty cool. Now, Celtics weren't drawing then. It was a rare period of time when they weren't good.
5 minutes they weren't good.
But absolutely they did it. And
wow.
That'd be cool. Just have more than 2 games. Bring it.
So they had to
together.
try.
Have 8 games in a day.
They had to try a lot of different things. It was not what we think of today. Even for instance, today, we talk about baseball struggling with attendance. It used to be a big deal to draw 1 million fans.
Yeah.
That was a benchmark.
Yep.
So, and now. Baseball averages like 27,000 fans.
Yeah, the Royals, did they get to 2 million in a couple of those years?
Yes.
Oh,
fans?
yeah,
they did. Okay.
2.4.
Yeah, they set their all-time franchise, their all-time record.
Soren and I used to argue because he said he thought they could get to 3, and I'm like, you got to sell out every game, basically.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that would happen, and it didn't.
I think it was 2015. I think it was 2 point. They went over their previous record, which I think had been in '89.
Right. Would you did you think, Danny, that Gary Woodland was ever going to win a major?
No,
I didn't.
I didn't.
I wanted him to.
He's done something very remarkable in a golfer's career, which is to find a putting stroke. That just doesn't happen. It happens a little bit more now when somebody tries to do something completely unconventional, which now there's almost nothing conventional and unconventional, like using the pencil grip or the claw grip or arm up the, shaft up the arm.
Arm up the where? Okay.
Yeah, boy.
Flag that one. But just as a conventional putter to become at least a reasonable putter. Now, he putted great this week. He's still not a great putter.
Yeah.
But to do that is just a testimony to tremendous hard work because, in large part, a short game is kind of something that is difficult to learn. Touch and feel are things that are generally sort of born. But there are players who've done it and now become great players for it, both in their early 30s. Another example is Francesco Molinari, who completely rode his long game and his ball striking to becoming a good player. And now he's a great player because he also has a good short game to go along with it. In fact, he finished in the top 20 in the U.S. Open, and his ball striking was terrible. So I think it's a fantastic story. It's a fantastic story on so many levels because he's got a great backstory and everything else. You mentioned the NBA draft. I was right with you listening on the way in because